I mean, people have asked me that quite often, and they've asked me that before, and I like to answer by saying that every role that I've actually done, I mean, they're all so different, and I've enjoyed each and every one of them. There is a difference between hard-working, long-hour roles, lots of lines to memorize, as opposed to a short or brief appearance on a TV show with not so many lines, but it's still work. They all vary. I would never forget my experience in my first film, Children of Lesser God. I was 19 years old. I remember every single detail that happened that day. As I watched the movie, I can remember what happened as we shot the scene. I remember each and everything that happened beforehand, right during, and after the making of the film. It was really a rich experience for me, and I had a great time on Coda. I was so excited, knowing that, my goodness, we were making history, using 3 authentic deaf actors who carried the film. And I'm so honored and humbled to be part of that history.
Very good. So one of our audience members has heard that there were deleted scenes or unplayed scenes from Coda.
I didn't edit the film, so I don't know. However, there was one scene that was a great scene. It was all about me, but they cut it out. And it was in a grocery store where Jackie, my character, had a meltdown, and she was upset because her credit card got declined. And she had an argument with the cashier. And it was really a sensitive scene, really heartfelt, and Sean Hayter, the director, it almost killed her to say that she had to cut the scene because the movie was running long. But that's what happens when you make films, you know? You just really have to go with the flow.
It was such an amazing character, even without that scene. It was had to be the role of the decade. What would you say has been something that you wish people understood about the deaf and hard of hearing community?
Well, I think if you're talking about the deaf and hard of hearing community, my community, I want you to understand that it's a culture, that it is rich with history, language. It's just a beautiful culture where a lot of people just aren't clued into it. But I think more and more people are, because of Coda, they're clued into it. But for those who don't, or are not familiar with it, or don't realize that sign language, first of all, it's not universal, that every culture or language in the hearing world has a deaf component and the sign language component that's different as well than American Sign Language. You might think, oh yeah, okay, but deaf people are the same, they all sign the same language, but no. But yet, when deaf people meet other deaf people from other countries, we have a better understanding because we know how to use nonverbal communication to express to each other, as opposed to hearing people who just talk at each other loudly and they don't understand what they're saying. But yeah, more and more people that I've met, everywhere I go, they're using the sign for I love you, they're learning how are you, hi. I think more and more people are clued into sign language, which means that I can't sign in secret anymore.
That's a great segue to my next question, which is, what advice would you give someone who is just starting to learn sign language?
Yeah.
My advice for someone just learning sign language would be, I mean, listen, it's exciting to me to even hear that people are interested in sign. I love people when they learn sign language. It's our language. My advice would be, you need to learn the history of our culture, not just learn how to sign or use your hands. You need to know what's behind the meaning of our signs, of our language. There are wonderful deaf people who can teach you. Because it gives, I mean, they add an extra, I mean, it's their native language, it sort of adds an extra layer to the education of sign. And you're also providing them a job. Because for many deaf people, it's not that easy to get a job. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's hard out there. So I like to be able to see more deaf people teaching sign language, hearing people who want to learn sign language. That's my belief. And I have an app called Marlee Signs. There you go. But I'm very proud of, again, my language. I met someone who just learned to sign 6 months ago, and she really is quite fluent now. And I'm very proud of her. And she's here tonight. She flew in from Maryland And I got to meet her, and she signs great. And I hope that she will be able to meet more deaf people and become integrated into our culture. And I'm looking at her right now.
You're crying now.
And she's crying now. She said I cried the whole time.
What kinds of things do you think need to be improved for both the deaf and hard of hearing in the workplace?
That's a great question. I think if you're talking about the workplace, if any of you have the power to hire, or you run a company, or even if we're talking about a school or university, I believe that, well, there are deaf people who look at the workplace differently. Not all of us approach workplaces differently. The same, excuse me. For example, someone might say, I need an interpreter, because the ADA stipulates that you have to have an interpreter that has to be provided by law. That might be one request. Some deaf people might bring their own interpreter because they prefer their own choice. Or some deaf people say, no, when they get there, they want to be able to communicate. Some prefer to write, some prefer to speak. But if you have the ability to hire, and you know that that person is deaf, or there are deaf employees in your workplace, ask them what they need for accommodation. Ask them what they need to make things go smoothly. We all have to start somewhere. We all need room to grow and to get a promotion. So the one word I've always been using a lot is it's important to collaborate. And transparency is certainly important too. Don't be afraid to ask. How can I help you? How can you help me? It goes both ways. We have a sound problem here. Are you guys okay with the sound? I can talk loudly. Hearing world problems, Marlee said.
Very good. What is the best way for hearing people to support individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing?
Well, naturally, if you want to talk with them, ask, do you read lips? If you know sign language, don't be afraid to use it, clearly. I mean, we all have different answers. I mean, I'm the kind of person who loves it when somebody comes up to me and says hi, and I mean, I'm thrilled with that. A lot of times, deaf people don't think when they see someone who says hi, that the deaf person might assume that they can sign fluently, and then they start signing fluently, and the hearing person is caught at a loss, and then they run away. But I think it would happen with anyone. Just be mindful of how you communicate with someone. Be mindful of their needs. Be mindful that you establish eye contact, even to write or text. There are no barriers to communication anymore. There shouldn't be any more barriers.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you have a daughter who's starting college. What advice do you have for our new in college freshmen about how to make friends and learn to be comfortable in a new place? And how are you doing?
I'm a mom of 4, and my oldest one is 26. She's a working woman. She didn't go to college, so I don't have to worry about college tuition for her. Then I have Brandon, who is a senior now at Marquette University in Milwaukee. Tyler, who is in his second year at San Diego State University. And Isabel, as you heard, who's on the road as we speak, literally, as I'm sitting here with all of you, on the road traveling to Oregon from California with my husband. My daughter, the youngest daughter, is the kind of person who is, she's very shy. And not at home, necessarily, but a lot of students, freshmen, I believe, have anxiety because it's all new. You don't have your parents to tell you, what time are you coming home? Did you do your homework? What grade did you get? Did you eat your lunch? It's late, go to bed, all that stuff. All the nagging stuff that parents do, that we do as parents. And of course, you're excited. You don't have to hear that kind of talk from your parents anymore. Trust me, you will be in for culture shock when you go to college because they're not there. You've suddenly disconnected from your parents, and then all you see are students milling about of all walks walks, from all walks of life, every single place you go, and you're not alone in being a freshman. So remember, you're not alone in learning about new things that are coming your way. You're not alone that you're going to be on your own, making decisions for yourself, telling you where to stand, when to eat, when to keep your room clean. When you do all these things without your parents reminding you, now you're adults. Wake up, surprise. Have fun. Make the best out of it. A college experience should be fun. It'll be challenging, but the bottom line is that life is challenging. And this is where you begin that challenge and realize, okay, I'm an adult, I'm on the path to making my own decisions, if I like something or not, and you'll learn a great deal of things that will be coming your way. Decision making is a big responsibility, and you'll run into lots of walls, and you'll sometimes fall, but you'll learn to get back up again. And you'll have a chance to meet people, and if you like them, great. If you don't, you move on. It's up to you to make those decisions in your life. But have fun, as I said. And please, do your homework. Don't slack off. Tuition is expensive.
So do your homework and call your mother.
Let's say that again.
Do your homework and call your mother.
Call your mother.
But the best answer that I get when I call, on FaceTime, it goes off. And then they text me and they say, I'm with my friends, I can't time. That happens all the time.
It is all part of it. Well, how have you seen the entertainment industry changing over the last decade or so, and what do you think the future looks like?
I think it's been good, especially over the last 35 years. I think a lot of people have learned. A lot of people have learned to communicate. I also am one who makes a lot of noise. And now more than ever, I've realized that I'm not alone anymore, that others have joined in making noise. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. I just made noise on Twitter about airlines not providing captioning 100% on flights. And they called to say, oh, can we talk? Oh, okay. If you give me some miles, maybe we'll talk. No, but there's a great number of things that I think have changed in Hollywood. I think more and more work is available for us. We're seeing it more often. I think people are collaborating. And it makes me glad to see a lot of deaf actors working now. So I think Hollywood is changing, but I don't think it'll ever be perfect. Not yet, no.
So what's next for you?
Well, I just finished my first directing job for Fox Television. It's a 1-hour episode of a show called Accused. So I now have had the experience of directing, and that's great, and I hope to direct more. I have a lot of projects. I have a lot of speaking dates. I'm busy with that. And I enjoy appearing around the country, a lot of traveling. And I have what's called things in development. They're very, very close. Hopefully that will be going into production soon. That.
All right, very good. Well, are there any questions you have for us here at Missouri State?
Any questions for them, you mean? If I have a question?
All right, our work here is done. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Marlee Matlin.
And please, thank you to our interpreters. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Go, go!